Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the next episode of the Perfectly Imperfect Spiritual Podcast. I'm your host, Marta the Medium, spiritual teacher, mentor, and psychic medium, and my work is about helping you reconnect with your own intuition, trust yourself more deeply, and build a direct relationship with spirit, your guides, and your loved ones rather than handing that power to anyone else. And one thing I've learned through my own life and through working with so many of you is that real change rarely begins by collecting more answers from outside ourselves. More often, it begins the moment we become aware of the patterns and beliefs that have quietly been running the show all along. And that is exactly, or maybe not completely, where today's conversation I'm sensing might take us. My guest today is Nicole Pope. Hi, Nicole. I'm going to introduce you in a second, but welcome to the podcast.
Oh,
I'm
thank you
so
so much. I'm so
I'm
happy to
so,
be here.
okay. I am going to introduce you properly, and then we'll see where the conversation takes us. But Nicole Pope, an evidential medium, soul path strategist, and transformation mentor, is here to share her story. But I want to read the bio I've got here as well. So, Nicole didn't set out to transform her life, but when it did, it revealed the hidden patterns shaping everything. Now, she helps others uncover those same patterns and realign with the path their soul came here to walk. Before stepping into her intuitive work, Nicole spent more than 20 years leading large scale transformation initiatives across Fortune 50 companies, implementing over $50 million in measurable improvements. Her specialty was identifying hidden patterns inside complex systems and realigning them for breakthrough results. After an unexpected spiritual awakening launched her into evidential mediumship, Nicole began applying that same root cause lens to human lives. Today, she helps people uncover their intuition, the deeper forces shaping their decisions, relationship, and life direction. And I think she really helps people to tap into the spiritual guidance and allows people to really create lives that feel aligned, purposeful, and authentic. Nicole's work bridges strategy and spirit, helping people understand not just what is happening in their lives, but what becomes possible once they learn to work with the deeper intelligence guiding them. Again, Nicole, welcome to the podcast. I'm so happy to have you here.
I am so excited to be here, Marta. Like this, I just love your podcast. I've listened to it and I love how much you really embrace just looking at spirituality from a completely different lens, a very empowered lens. And just I feel like we're soul sisters. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm excited as well. Spirit's excited as well. I know you know it. I can feel it. Where do we start? Well, you spent 2 decades in a world that measures everything. Then you stepped into a world that, on the surface, measures nothing. So when
Mhm.
you first started receiving information you couldn't put in a spreadsheet, how did the strategist in you react?
So I'm chuckling a little bit because I did put it in a spreadsheet.
Okay. Are we getting some evidence?
No,
Are
it's
we
it
connecting?
is. So it's really interesting. It- so when we talk about me working and doing transformational work within the corporate space for 20 plus
Mhm,
years, it was really more project management and process improvement, which meant that we used data to make decisions. So a lot of
mhm,
the root cause that I ended up doing was based on the detailed data of a process, how long certain steps took, how many employees were included in it. And so we used a lot of data to make the decisions. And I've actually told executives that they needed to throw out like their gut feelings and their intuition because the data never lies. And so it
mhm,
was really interesting starting into the metaphysical world, especially with evidential mediumship, because I love evidential mediumship. And I really feel like it's the gateway for a lot of people to embrace their more spiritual side of the house, see that there's something out there that's bigger than themselves, that's more possible within themselves. And as I started this work, I really did take it from a process engineering background.
mhm,
And what that means is I would read people or I would pull in spirits and I would document it. I would put it into a
Mhm.
spreadsheet. I would say, what date was this reading? Who was I working with? How many souls did I connect to? What evidence did I pull through? What was the message? I would pull in the spirit afterwards to say, what did I do well? What could I have worked on? I did the same with my spirit team. And I ended up collecting spreadsheets worth of data that I personally needed to prove that I'm like, to be honest with you, wasn't crazy in this work, because someone like me, coming from a Catholic background, coming from a religious background, coming from a completely non-spiritual background, and suddenly out of the blue starting to work with spirit, I didn't trust it. So I actually used data and spreadsheets to prove to myself that
Mhm.
I had a 92% accuracy in terms of pulling in departed loved ones. And that further continued when I used spreadsheets to like document all of the symbols I was getting, all of the evidence I was getting, and able to like track and trend where did I need to work and improve versus where did I have those receptive abilities accurate so that I didn't need to do the work. So it's really interesting because I actually did start a lot with data, because I think
Mhm.
my spirit team needed me to believe that this work was where I needed to be. And then
Mhm.
as I've progressed down my career with this, it's really interesting because I'm proving less and less. I'm relying on maybe the data and the science less and less. And it is all about that journey internally of trusting spirit, trusting what you're getting, and trusting that even if it doesn't land, even if it's not verifiable in the moment, it doesn't mean it was the wrong message. It was complete, it was accurate, and it's exactly what needed to be relayed for your clients or your sitters.
Mhm. And I love that you trusted yourself. You trusted what was important for you, and you knew what you needed to do in order to convince your logical mind. So anyone who's listening, watching it, well, I hope you can trust yourself and do whatever works for you. But definitely, as Nicole's been mentioning, putting things in a spreadsheet or having a journal works wonders in those moments, whether you're at the beginning of developing connection to the spirit world, or even further along, like in those moments when you start doubting yourself or anything complicated, it comes to your mind, like when you look at that spreadsheet or a journal, and there's undeniable list of evidence and things and information that there's no way you would have known. I think by looking at it, you're taking away from your ego the doubt or anything that would try to stop you, because it is scary to allow ourselves, I think, to surrender and to actually accept the fact that we are so much tapped into this invisible, well, the world keeps coming, that we can communicate across the veil. What do you think, Nicole, about that? Can it strengthen people's like trust, or can it help like by documenting, writing things down?
I absolutely
Yeah.
think so. I have my iPad that I literally write everything down, because I just couldn't even do the notebooks anymore because I had
Mhm.
notebooks and notebooks and notebooks everywhere. So, yes, I think that writing things down is wonderful because very rarely, at least in my experience, I'd love to hear your experience, does spirit come in with full downloads of everything I'm meant to do know all at one time, right? There are channeled messages, excuse me, that are complete as is, but a lot of the times when I'm learning about my next evolution, about my next program, about all these new things that I'm supposed to be bringing and teaching into the world, they don't come in as one giant thunk, right? They come in as like little tiny pieces that allow my energy to be ready to receive. And so for me personally, documenting things, keeping track of the data, keeping track of the patterns, keeping track of like all of these little things, and then being able to look back and understand how they all piece together is such a way, at least my team, that really works with me in this field, because there's no way I would be able to receive some of these massive enlightened downloads or information or teachings from my guides if I didn't take them little bits at a time. And before we hopped on, we were talking about the kids, right? Like we have 3D lives too. So it's really,
Mhm.
so it's being able to be receptive in every single moment and document all of these little things and keep track and notice the patterns, because I am 100% a person that uses patterns to understand and evolve myself. So, and that is part of the root cause work that I do as well. So I think it's so important for other people, as grueling as sometimes it can be, to write everything down, like write everything down. Absolutely.
Can we talk about patterns? Could you talk
Yes.
about those hidden patterns? Anything that you would like to start this conversation with?
Ooh, I love that. Let me see. So it's just really interesting because I think everyone sees the patterns, right? And I think a lot of people that are starting this work and or are interested in mediumship start with patterns. They start noticing maybe the birds, maybe the coins, maybe the feathers, right? And I think that a lot of people start noticing all of these, maybe the songs on the radio or on Spotify, right? And so they start with patterns. And it's so interesting because the patterns for me are the telltale sign that spirit is reaching out and working with me. For me, I use kind of the rule of 3 with my team. So if I see something in 3 different forms, so if I hear, let's see, palmistry is picked up a lot lately. I don't know why, but I've seen palmistry a lot lately. So we recently went on holiday with my family to a beach town, and in there was a metaphysical store with a palmistry book. So I bought it for my daughter, right? And then I just saw somebody reached out to me who is a palmistry expert, and then I saw somebody else that does palmistry readings locally. So the way that I see things in 3 for me is the pattern is something that, especially in 3 different ways where you don't expect it. It's not like you're scrolling through social media and you see the same thing 3 times. That's called the algorithm. That doesn't count. But if you start seeing these patterns popping up and they're out of the norm, and it's not necessarily something that you're interested in or used to seeing, for me, that is a way that spirit is trying to get a hold of you. So that's when I would do a guided meditation, connect with the team, identify if there's something else that's going on. So because a lot of what we do in this work, we're not on, or most mediums or most metaphysical practitioners that I know are not on all the time. They're not completely always in the vibration of spirit all the time. Most of them, again, have that 3D everyday life experience. And so it is hard to constantly be connected and in contact with your team while you're having this 3D experience. So my team will show me things in patterns while I'm in the 3D experience to allow me to say, okay, that is a prompt that I need to go up and learn more information about. So I'm always looking for patterns.
I love it. And what has popped into my mind right now is that it is so important to actually be fully present in this 3D experience. Well, first of all, we come here to learn and grow, but also for anyone who wants to strengthen the connection with the spirit world, we need those points of reference. So if that can be a very convenient excuse. And I had this conversation with one of my teachers yesterday as well, Marta. Like, how about you start going out like to coffee shops again? Because this is what I used to do. Because spirit is going to use our points of reference. And I did a reading for her, and yesterday, this is what has popped into my mind now. And I could see I knew it was her dog. I managed to get the name. The name of the dog was Pearl. They showed me a pearl color. And then I could see it was like a medium-sized dog, but I couldn't find like the right breed. And I was like, it's in between like a pug, Chihuahua, but it's got like a flat nose. And of course, like I didn't have the point of reference. It was like King Charles.
Oh yeah,
Chevalier. Like I wouldn't know that because I'm not an expert in dogs. But they were like trying to give me the closest point of reference, anything that I could get. And then she knew straight away it was her dog. But what I'm trying to say, it's so nice as well to allow ourselves to slow down and not always to keep pushing for the connection with the spirit world, but enjoy this 3D experience, because I think our spirit team can bring so much to our awareness. I'm not sure what is your perspective on that.
Oh, I completely agree. We don't come here to completely be enmeshed and like engrossed in the spiritual world. We come, to your point, like we come here to learn, we come here to grow, we come here to live our soul lessons that allow us to, evolve and grow and change in our soul level, but also gain experiences and perspective and knowledge in our human experiences. And so you're absolutely right that we are meant to be in the present moment. We are meant to be creating love and relationships with people and helping other people grow and change and evolve as well. And so I think you're absolutely right that, God, and I love that story too, because isn't that such an accurate depiction of what it's like working with spirit, right? Like, because you're like, I have all of the criteria. And I think this is important to dissect a little bit. This is part of like the energy threads or looking at the root cause that we're looking at, because you have the basis of a dog of that size. You can get the key descriptions, but if it doesn't, if we don't have a basis of that knowledge in our head, in our brain, in our experience, it's really hard for spirit to kind of move through it. And so a lot of what we are working with and evolving and growing and changing into are different versions of ourselves that we don't know yet. We haven't met yet. And so it's really interesting because spirit can't give you the full download of everything that you are, everything that you're meant to become, because you don't have a knowledge set, a knowledge base for that within your own energetic system. And so spirit does have to work around it and use the everyday experience, the people that you're working with, the podcast that you're listening to, the classes that you're taking to teach you and point to you and show to you what your kind of like path is, where you're going, because you don't have a basis for it. So if they handed you the whole thing on a platter, number one, you'd either be terrified because you're not ready for it, or you wouldn't believe it because you're just like, oh, well, like that has nothing to do with who I am and what I'm meant to do, because we never know where our paths take us. And I just love that spirit just like dropped that little knowledge bomb, and I was not even the answer to your question. Because I'm sure that this must happen all the time on your podcast, Marta.
Oh yeah, and I didn't plan to talk about this particular dog. Yes, it does, but those are the gems, like the most important things that we share here on the podcast. So yeah, it does happen.
Yeah. And so like it's just amazing because we're not, we need to live the 3D experience, because the 3D experience is actually, for me, where I get my most downloads, my most information, my most patterns. And then when I need to, I will have the very targeted, pointed conversation with my spiritual team to say, tell me more, teach me, show me. But otherwise, I'm living in that everyday 3D experience where I have to do the dishes, right? I have to bring the kids to summer camp or school, right? Because we are here to live that experience too.
Why do you think so many of us keep repeating the same experiences in relationships, work, and personal growth, even when we, or some people, genuinely want something different?
Oh, the same pattern will repeat itself over and over and over again until the lesson is learned. So if there is something that is repeating, there is a lesson you have not yet to learn from it. So I will speak from experience here and give an example. I grew up with a narcissistic mother, to be honest with you. She's lovely. I love her, but she has her own things that she's working through. And so for a while after I had kids, I knew I needed to cut my family out. I needed to separate from them because it was getting a little too much. She absolutely was obsessed with my children. I didn't like that the way she was talking to them was very similar with the way that she would talk to me, in a very narcissistic way. And I said, I'm not allowing my children to be raised in an environment like that. And so I separated from my family for about 4 or 5 years or so. No contact, didn't talk to them. And I was doing great. Like, there was a period of grieving that comes with it, with that. I was doing really well. I was becoming very independent in my energy. I was getting to the point where, as people might mention them, I wasn't getting triggered. So I was doing a lot of internal work to progress past the versions of myself that were very dependent and very connected to them energetically, and becoming my own sovereign being. Well, wouldn't you know, spirit had other plans in mind, as always, right? And so as I started to really get into this metaphysical work and wanting to go higher and higher in vibration and levels and really help other people with this work, they essentially told me, you have to bring them back. You have to go back. You can't keep cutting them off. And I was like, but why? I've done all this work. I've done everything. I've gone to therapy. I've really dug deep in separating the strings that attached us so that I could lead my own life without the influence of their perspectives, beliefs, expectations, is really the word I want to use there. And spirit said, as long as you are changing who you are and being defensive with people that are misaligned with you, you are not being your true authentic self because you're still reacting to other people. You're still not being your true authentic self. So I had to bring them back in to my life and allow myself to be who I was, myself, my own vibration, my own authentic sovereign being, without the influence of others who might want to influence me. And so there was just this deep, totally unexpected thing that happened when I brought them back, because I thought I was healed. And then as soon as they came back, I was not healed. I was not healed. Right. Right. And so the pattern, I masked it because I wanted to bypass it. I wanted to get rid of it. I didn't want them in my life to overtly influence me. But when they came back, I realized I had so much more work to do, to the point where I became energetically, quote unquote, untouchable, where their vibrations did not influence me at all. And not only that, but it's the level above that. It was the level of, I love and respect them enough that that is their journey and their relationship with me, the way that they treated me, their own inner demons that they were working on were part of their soul's journey. And who was I to judge what they came here to overcome themselves? And so it was just really interesting to rise above, for me, what was a very depressing situation, which was a very, I don't know, very, very difficult situation as somebody that I was the only daughter, and to be able to rise above it and allow myself to see the lessons that I came here to learn, which was independence. So I was absolutely working towards the path I needed to work on. And then my parents were working on their own version of independence and sovereignty, and they had some work to do as well. And so I had to appreciate that both of us had these very unique journeys that intersected one another, that reflected the growth that we each needed to have in ourselves, and rise above it to the vibration of love, to the frequency of trust, to the frequency of I chose this. I chose this. And so I think a lot of people repeat these lessons, Marta, because they're not safe. Like, these lessons don't feel safe. Our nervous system is not ready to face some of the things that we are very deeply uncomfortable with. And at least here in the United States, I'm not sure what the culture is where you're located, but here in the United States, family is everything. You're supposed to show up. Like, you're supposed to take the beatings. You're supposed to take the emotional weights that your family has given you and say, thank you, I'll take another, because that is the social expectation here. So overcoming all of these obstacles can be either a family lineage that you're overcoming, which can be very difficult because that is built into your DNA. It can be working through your own past life lessons that you're working on, right? That maybe you don't even know where the source of the information is unless you're working with a practitioner. Or it could be, overcoming these lessons that are embedded within society, and you are literally stepping out and stepping against the grain of everything that is acceptable within the culture. And so this is 100% the path to sovereignty, and you have to be able to be resilient enough to be uncomfortable, to say no to the things that are easy, and retrain your entire nervous system to feel comfortable in becoming the authentic version of you, which is such a big, it is so big and hard to do. But at the same time, once you overcome that hurdle, there is nothing on the other side that can bother you. Like, it's so interesting because the higher you go vibrationally with your own authentic self, the easier and easier and easier life actually gets. But you don't believe it until you get there.
Yeah, I can sense freedom in my lungs. Like, I've been on my own journey as well, and of course they're using this experience, so I can just tap into like the feelings and emotions behind your story. I think it's so empowering as well for anyone to realize that, first of all, you're responsible for your own energy, life, and life lessons. I know, as you've mentioned, it's so challenging to realize that the most challenging people, I'll call them, who are here, or we meet them on our journeys, are here to teach us something. But also, I think it's empowering to realize that sometimes we can which is not just, work on our energy, and people around us might or will start changing without us using the 3D, like the actual words.
Mhm.
because as we change, and as you've been mentioning, when we increase our vibration or we learn lessons, we elevate, whatever is not an equal match, vibrational match, will either fall apart or
Yes.
will have an opportunity to adjust. They're just showing me like the particles, but I'm also talking about people that they might change all of a sudden their attitude or the way they treat us. And I know you've been talking about the family members, but it's not on us, and we cannot force another person to choose differently. So it's all about us owning our lessons, which is really, really challenging, but also empowering. And I love what you've mentioned, that state of, well, I'm using the word empowerment and freedom. Once you've gone through this discomfort and once you've realized, I am my authentic self, it's me, you either accept me or you can just leave, because that's who I am. And I'm going to walk this life, this path, proud being myself.
I love that. And it's so true. And I think that is where a lot of the patterns get stuck. A lot of people get stuck in not overcoming their own soul lessons, is because they've been essentially taught by society and their family to serve, be subservient, right? To do
Mhm.
what they're asking you to do. And a lot of the times people want you to do what they want because it makes their lives easier, not because it makes
Mhm.
your life easier, not because it's
Mhm.
good for you, right? But we are like essentially trained since we are young children to do, respect elders, do what your parents want you, be good listeners, like follow the rules, right? And so it can really do a number on your psyche and do a number on your like internal just like safety, your nervous system, to be able to go against the grain, against all of that stuff. But to your point, Marta, it is all about your own soul's journey. And so
Mhm.
as I talk to my clients, I have to remind them, when you start putting boundaries in place, when you start doing what is authentically right for you, what
Mhm.
feels really good and joyous and passionate for you, you are going to make a lot of other people upset because
Mhm.
they gain off of the inconvenience of you sacrificing yourself. Like
Mhm.
they have skin in the game, so to speak, to say that um they like it better when you help them, right? And
Mhm.
when you're not taking care of yourself. And so it's just really interesting, because if you are making people upset, if you are ruffling feathers by being yourself, this to me is always like, that's a green flag. Yes, keep going, because you're
Mhm.
doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Is it uncomfortable? Sure. Are you going to, I'm going to say, lose friends, but more so, like to your point, lose misaligned connections and relationships that benefit off of you at a lower vibration? Absolutely, yes. But what you do when you remove those vibrations from your system, from your energetic field, from your 3D experiences, you actually make space for things that are more aligned. And
Mhm.
I cannot speak enough. And I have to assume you're the same way, Marta. The relationships that I have developed now that I am tapped into my authentic vibrational being, which, by the way, is not like a one-time thing. It
Mhm.
it evolves, right? So like, this is me at my authentic self right now, and that will be
Mhm.
different than my authentic self
Mhm.
in the future. But the people that I connect with, that I call in vibrationally now, the relationships that I have now that I'm an authentic sovereign being, are, God, the best relationships of my life.
Mhm.
They're amazing, because I am now chatting with peers that get it, that want to be independent, that want to be sovereign, that love life, that like, I'm not talking with people anymore that are eternal victims or eternal negative Nellies. Or people that just complain all day long. Instead, I'm working with people who wake up, love life, choose passion, willing to
Mhm.
help. And it changes your entire experience when you are your authentic vibration, because these are the people that you're around. You're getting opportunities and experiences that align with you at this level of vibration. And so you're getting higher vibration jobs, uh, clients, whatever that looks like to you. And so, and it doesn't mean that it's um, a vacation, right? It doesn't mean that it's like a holiday, because we still have work to do even at this vibration. It doesn't mean that life
Mhm.
is perfect and flow. It means we're now, when we're at this level and we want to go to the next highest vibration, we still have work to do to get there. But it's fun. There's something that you can't even verbally express about what it is like to live in your authentic vibration. And it's just, God, you wake up every day just happy and excited and ready for the challenge, because you know every single challenge that comes your way will be one that you are receiving as a gift that you can overcome.
I love it. I'm sensing so much excitement. And for anyone who's, well, we are all, I think, at the beginning of one of the levels, but like for anyone who's struggling with boundaries or saying no and listening to yourself, it's going to get easier with practice. And I think anytime you feel a little bit of guilt or a lot of guilt, just break through that, because I feel it might be an indication that that boundary might be necessary. And at the same time, what I keep hearing, if anyone's upset with you setting boundaries in whatever aspect of your life, this is also a sign from the universe that this boundary was so necessary. And at some point, it will become a pattern, and you will be doing it automatically without concentrating on that, and you're going to be able to thrive and enjoy your life. So I think that is really beautiful. Could you talk about the levels in life, in this human experience, about time jumping, about anything that pops into your mind? Because I had that conversation recently with someone. I truly believe that we come here on earth having certain fixed lessons to learn, but I believe there are different levels, and at different level there will be different lessons. Of course, we have a free will, and we might choose, okay, I might avoid all of the lessons and I'm going to stay at this level, but you can continuously keep climbing. I'm wondering, what's your view on levels, lessons, anything that you want to bring to this conversation?
It's funny because I think you just covered a lot of it. I completely agree with everything that you just said. I do think that before, and I've seen the rooms when I'm doing readings of what it looks like to plan our lives, and we plan them mainly with ourselves, with our guides, and with the web of people that we're going to end up interacting with. So as we're planning our lives, we plan for all of these infinite possibilities, right? And that's not hard. It sounds like a big task here in the human experience. In the spirit world, you have unlimited time. There is no time, right? And so like you have time to plan out, what about option A, option B, option C? And so I do absolutely believe, Marta, that we come planning who our family is. I think we pick our family. I think we pick our significant others. I think we work in collaboration to pick our children. And so a lot of this stuff, to your point, are like milestones that are within our life path that are we are kind of destined to go through or reach that milestone. But I don't think it's based on a time frame. Because I think that they're milestones, and it's more like if you do tasks 1, 2, and 3, if you learn lessons 1, 2, and 3, then this milestone appears. So we're living in, the Matrix or a video game, right? If we do these 3 tasks, here comes the boss level, right? But as we kind of go through that experience, so yes, I think there's milestones. Yes, I think that no matter what free will you have, you will end up at some of these milestones because we are supposed to go through some of these milestones. But to your point, if you learn these lessons and you hit these milestones, I feel like you unlock the next level of learning. And so for me, and I don't think you can skip levels. Like I want to say that before I say whatever else is coming out of my mouth, because I don't think you can go from level 1 to level 3. You have to pass through level 2. That can be very uncomfortable. But all of these different levels are actually related to your vibrational frequency and timelines as well. So whenever spirit works with me with timelines, it always comes in terms of vibration. Because if you think about, let me see if I can pull this giant thread together. If you think about levels, we tend to think about them as difficulty, right? Easiest, we're on level 1, 10, that's the most difficult. And I want you instead to think about each single level as like you've learned the lesson, it got progressively harder, it got progressively harder, it got progressively harder. But the difference is it doesn't actually get harder because the levels are actually vibrational frequencies. So you think that you're going to push through to the next level and it's going to be really hard. And then you're going to have harder lessons to learn there. But the reality is that it gets lighter as it goes up. So as we're talking about the different levels and frequencies, you're actually going to a higher vibrational frequency with every single lesson that you learn because you're moving closer and closer to the vibration of your soul. So are the lessons more difficult? Maybe. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But it's really about whatever lessons you need to learn to unlock that next vibrational frequency. So if we're talking about levels as vibrational frequencies instead of like difficulty,
Mm-hmm.
and I think all of these levels are planned in our soul before we come here. That is kind of how you timeline jump, is by moving to the next level. Because if you think about timelines in terms of, because time is not linear, right? It's a giant
Mm-hmm.
spiral. So you're always going forward and going backwards. So to me, vibrational levels are also timelines, because me at the timeline where I stayed with my parents, didn't cut them off, go through that whole journey, that is a timeline I could have had for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
100% could have been enmeshed, could have continued to take the verbal and emotional abuse that I received, could have allowed my family to do that, or could have allowed my kids to do that. And then they would have a very different path trajectory, because I stayed on that. I didn't. So I chose the next level of, I'm going to cut them off and I'm going to do the internal work. Could have stayed on that level forever. Right? Could have kept separated, could have lived my own blissfully unaware yet unhealed life for eternity. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But instead, I chose the next level, which was also increasingly more difficult, to bring them back and learn the lessons of remaining in my sovereignty, no matter what other people wanted from me vibrationally. And I could have stayed on that level. Right? And so that's what we're talking about with levels of vibration, levels of healing, is like, I learned that lesson. Great. I'm going to go to I have the option to go to the next level. I'm going to take that or not take that. That's free will. And then I'll just continue up the vibrational path. And every time you take on the work of learning those lessons, you're going to bring it back closer and closer and closer to your soul's lesson, 100%. And so at that higher vibrational frequency, life gets easier. Life gets faster in terms of timelines, because now you're at your vibrational frequency. Now you have a closer connection to your soul. You have a closer connection to spirit. So it almost speeds up your path in whatever path you're going down. I hope that
can
answers
encourage.
it. Okay.
Yeah, that can encourage those maybe who are avoiding lessons. It can get easier. Come on, learn your lessons.
It does. And the lessons are so interesting, Marta, because if you take the lesson of my parents, there's so many different vibrations or ways to look at it, because I could look at it from a victim perspective, or I could look at it from a soul perspective. And this is what you can do with your team, with your departed loved ones, with the Akashic records, other energies you want to channel. And you can realize that my parents did a really good job playing their role, right? They did a really good job, because I wanted to learn independence from a very young age. And so they did their job very well. Right? And so, like,
could you talk more about that? I think it's so empowering. It helped me so much to understand my parents' behavior. Yeah. First of all, well, the word detachment keeps coming, but by me actually seeing that they are my best friends, they're my best cheerleaders, that in this lifetime they said, okay, I am going to play a role of someone very abusive, very challenging.
Yes.
And then trying to perceive it as someone who's just doing you a favor and really helping you. That has been a massive help for Marta the human.
Yeah. It's so wild, right? Because I think when we come into here and we look at everybody's experiences, we wonder, like, why can't we have that amazing experience? Why can't I have parents that absolutely are easy and lovely and, God, are independently wealthy? Could we have those parents? Like, why did I choose the parents that I did? Right. So the first belief, I think, is understanding that we choose. We choose everything in our lives. There are no accidents. And so if we choose this, why do we choose parents that are difficult? Right. Like, why did I choose a son that is crazy, right? And can see like spirit with his eyes. Right. So because this is part of the path that we choose. So if you have to believe, if you do believe, you have to believe this, that our soul's spirit world is so smart, so all-knowing, all-loving. And you have to believe that we choose the souls, we choose the lives and the souls that we come in contact here. Then you have to put kind of 2 and 2 together to be like, wait a second, this doesn't pass the test right now, right? Why am I playing a victim to this life when I chose it? And I know I chose it for unconditional love and growth. And so you start to look at things from a different perspective, a different angle. And then you start to realize, at least for my case, I chose my parents And to your point, they willingly chose to be the bad guy. They said, we will be the bad guy, no problem. Which means that they must love me as a soul, because I'm going to shit on them this entire life. Sorry about the swear.
Oh, no. Everything's welcome here.
Okay. Because I'm going to talk about them on podcasts, and I'm going to talk about how they were narcissistic, and they know this is part of the path. And so they have to volunteer for that choice too. So to your point, like, they are probably my best friends in the spirit world, that I have chosen to have a very difficult relationship here, because the difficult relationship is going to help my soul grow. So they volunteer for that lesson to help my soul grow. Right. And so when you start to look at things from these more soul level angles, and you start looking at this 3D experience as the end all be all experience that is the only truth that you see, and you start realizing there are other truths out there, excuse me, at different vibrational frequencies, you start to realize, no, my parents did this so that I could grow. I chose my parents to be difficult so that I did not become enmeshed, so that I became independent, so that I led a life that was very, very different from them, because that was the trajectory that I wanted to set for myself. Right. So when you start to play with these things that seem to have one-sided views, especially from a very victim mentality, and you start to we talked about the levels, you start to look at your problem at different vibrational frequencies. One story can turn into 10 different stories. And which story do you want to buy into? Which story is the most open, free, empowering story? Because that's the story your soul chose for you. Everything else is the human ego saying, why me? And so if you're asking yourself, why me, you are telling yourself the wrong story. You need to look at your story and tell it to you differently, in a way that gives you freedom, empowerment, growth, and allows you to see yourself as the beautiful incarnation that your soul has chose for you to represent themselves in this lifetime, so that you can grow and evolve and change and become an even bigger, better soul coming out of this.
And it is so empowering, but I understand that it can be very difficult for many to take this radical responsibility for their lives and the choices of how they perceive various relationships, various events in their life. Could we talk about alignment? Can you talk about alignment? What does alignment mean, and where would you like to start?
Sure. So alignment to me is being in your pure, authentic vibrational state. So alignment to me is so interesting. When I started this work, my team told me I had to learn the universal laws like the back of my hand. So all of this stuff is based on the universal laws for me, or at least this is how I back up all this information. So alignment is essentially you being in the highest vibrational frequency that is possible for you in this human experience. So when you are in your highest vibrational frequency, the law of attraction indicates that you are going to attract what is like to you. So the law of attraction is like attracts like. So you're going to start to attract the vibrational frequencies that you put out. That is also the law of correspondence, which is your internal reflects your external. So whatever you are seeing, experiencing, feeling in the 3D experience, I'm so sorry, that is how you experience, feel, see yourself. That is the reality of this work. So as we're talking about the law, attraction and alignment, right? So the higher the vibrational frequency you can be, the easier and easier life is, because you will start to attract the vibrational frequencies that are a match to you. So that goes with what we were talking about earlier, that talks about like attracting the right relationships, attracting the right family, the right friends, the right job, the right career, the right car, house, anything like that. And so the more that you work at yourself, which is really the whole point of this lifetime, is to work at yourself and raise your own vibrational frequency. And by raising your own vibrational frequency, you are going to, to your point, raise the vibrational frequency of others around you. They have no choice. I'm so sorry, everybody else, right? And as you raise your vibrational frequency, the things that you need, that you deserve, that are part of your path, just start kind of finding its way to you. And it is the most wild thing in the world, because we think that it's impossible, but I think we've all been at the low vibrations at certain points, and you've had the day that just snowballs, right? You have the day where you woke up grumpy, you woke up on the wrong side of the bed. The milk was sour, right? You can't have any milk in your coffee or tea. And the day just continues forward. What do you think is happening there? Because that is also the law of attraction. Your vibration is very, very low, and you are going to continue to attract these low vibrational pain in the butt experiences all throughout the day. And so it's so interesting because the law of vibration, everyone sees at all times. It's just we think that if we get to the next level, everything's easier, everything's flow, everything comes to you. But the reality is that you're experiencing that everything comes to you no matter what vibration you're at. So what vibration do you want to start bringing and attracting things into your life? And to raise your vibration, again, it's working through the lessons, it's doing the work, it's sitting through the resistance, it's doing the things that are very difficult for the purpose of, growth and empowerment and change and transformation that allows you to get to this higher level and start to attract all of the amazing things that you were always meant to receive. You just have been waiting for it to grow to that level.
And what are some simple tools, anything that anyone could take right now, if anyone who's listening is completely new to this work and they feel like, I just want to raise my vibration, or I want to learn how to stop spiraling, anything that I can start doing so I can see some changes, so I can prove to myself it's worth doing the work?
Oh, it's so interesting. A lot of, and this is my belief, it doesn't have to be your belief. A lot of the healing that goes on, like I love Reiki, I do. But like if you go to do a Reiki session, if you go to do, tarot cards or even palmistry, right? These are all generally moments of time with your energy. And so you can short term do some energetic healing on you to bring your chakras back into balance, to give yourself some energetic clearing, to raise the vibration of where you're feeling. And you can absolutely do that for your entire life. Do it like once a month to keep your vibration, connected and high as possible. And so just by doing that work, you will see improved benefits by participating in energetic healing sessions. But if you are looking to long-term raise the vibration permanently, where you don't have to continue to work at it, where you are just, you wake up at that vibration and it's not a lot of variation, it's not a lot of ups and downs every single day, that is when you have to do the lessons. And so what I would recommend people do is, again, notice the patterns that keep popping up. Are you having the same relationships across multiple people and you don't like it, right? Are you finding yourself in a job where you are absolutely miserable and it's just not who you want to be? It doesn't represent you and your values, right? So notice where things feel dragging, notice where things feel low vibrational, notice where things feel misalignment, and try to find ways, because there's always a purpose why we're there, right? Even if it's a bad situation, there's always a purpose why we're there. Like, try to find ways to learn lesson, try to notice the resistance that you are not saying yes to in terms of growing and changing and learning a lesson. Find the different ways that you might need to say no, or maybe you need to start looking for another job, or maybe you need to start putting some boundaries in with friends that are using you or abusing you in certain ways. And so part of this is, again, there's all these different strategies that are out there, but it really comes down to noticing how it makes you feel on the inside. Does it make you feel joyful? Does it make you feel passionate? Does it make you feel excited? Does that make you feel happy? And if it doesn't, take a look at it and say, does this belong in my life? Yes or no? And some things we can very quickly throw out the window. We don't need that. That's okay. Other things might need more of a long-term strategy to try to improve, create boundaries. But just realizing that the things that don't feel good are the things that are in misalignment for you. So when you start removing those, just notice, number one, when you remove them, you create space first, and that can feel really, really awkward, right? That doesn't necessarily feel good once you remove it, because you've created space. And that space hasn't been filled with that next level of vibration yet. But removing things has to come before allowing space to bring things in. And so, like, just notice the pattern. And the universe, your spirit team, your loved ones on the other side will always reward you for making a right vibrational decision. I've seen it time and time again. And I think this is where I see a lot of the signs and synchronicities pop in. So when I remove things that are not meant for me, they always give me some sort of a sign that'll probably be personal to you, some sort of a message, some sort of a person that comes by and says a lovely thing to me. And I'm like, okay, great, I'm on the right path. And then I just continue forward. So again, it's small wins. It's choosing small things every single day. It doesn't need to be these big things that put you into your own vibrational frequency. You can choose little tiny things every day that bring you closer and closer to your vibration, and just watch and monitor, again, track how your energy is shifting, track how you're experiencing the world, track how some things are just like coming to you. Maybe you find, some money on the street. Maybe you win a raffle or a contest, and you're going to start noticing the universe is going to start reciprocating for you at that higher level.
Mhm.
And so when you start noticing that, like, sit in that win,
Mhm.
like sit in the vibration of the energy of like the positive win, and then start moving after you've kind of taken all the energy you can from it.
Mhm.
Hope that's helpful. There's so many different ways you
Yes,
can do
I
it.
know. Well, what another question that has just popped into my
Hmm.
mind. What changes when someone chooses to finally stop forcing and starts working with themselves, not against themselves?
You start to realize you have always been perfect. Like, can I say
Mm.
that? And I realize that that is very ironic with the name of this podcast,
Mm,
but you
mm,
have always been perfect. You have been
mm,
always perfectly imperfect,
mhm,
because what we consider to be our flaws are actually our superpowers
mhm,
99.999% of the time. And so part of your journey is probably how people suppressed you, how people said you weren't good enough, how people, didn't want you angry. But the reality is that like your anger, your power, your perseverance, what makes you you is actually so powerful that other people couldn't handle it.
mhm,
And so like this is all about just noticing that the way that you are is perfectly designed by you and your soul for whatever your path, your mission is here on this 3D experience. And so when you start reframing what you perceive to be your flaws as your strengths, the whole world opens up for you. You start seeing
mhm,
everything differently, and you start realizing I have this really annoying thing that everybody hates because it really helps me go exactly where I need to go. And you start doubling down on everything that makes you unique and weird and different. And
mhm.
people are going to love you for your uniqueness. Absolutely. Yes. Every single time.
I love it. Mhm.
Hmm.
What about intuition? Is intuition available to everyone or only to some?
It is. I think everyone can do what I can do. I'm the biggest advocate of that, because intuition, talking to spirit, talking to departed loved ones, we all are souls having a physical experience. So we are souls first and human second. So I truly believe that everyone has access to intuition, to connecting to the unseen worlds. And it is just all about learning the unique way that your energy perceives it and receives it, because there is a lot of misinformation out there. A lot of people expect intuition to show up a different way. A lot of people
Mhm,
use intuition to control and to predict everything that's happening, and it doesn't work that way. I'm so sorry. So I
mhm,
think everyone has intuition, they just don't understand perhaps how intuition works or why it's there or how to use it in the best way. But once I find people are educated on the reality of intuition, I think everybody starts to recognize how they've had it all along. And we all have it. We all have the gut feelings. We all have the knowings that pop in. They might not be predictable or clear,
mhm,
but everyone at some point has these feelings. And most people have, what is it called? The smelling clair, where you smell random things. Like I don't know
mhm,
a person that doesn't receive these phantom, as I call them,
mhm,
smells. So yes, we are all souls. We all have access to all of these things. And if you don't know how to do it yet, just find the right teacher who will teach you how to do that.
mhm. And how can we bridge the analytical mind with intuition? And is it possible for anyone who thinks that they need to choose one or the other?
What I find is without going completely down the rabbit hole, the analytical mind is really the divine masculine mind. So it is the side of the mind that loves structure, loves numbers and predictability and counting and all these different things, right? And the intuitive side of the house is more of the feminine mind, right? Which is all about surrendering and receiving. And you want both. Like ideally, there is purpose to both of those. The key is that you can't have the divine masculine side of the house running the show, because the divine masculine tends to work more with the ego and the brain. So it's going to want to control, and it's going to want to write the narrative of success. What does success look like, etc. So you definitely want to use the divine masculine, the analytical, the masculine side of the house, but you want to kind of put that on the back burner behind the divine feminine, behind the surrender. So it's all about not using it's like you have to soften to receive the intuition, and then you can start to measure it. Like you can't measure it off the bat, because if you're going in there expecting to measure everything first, you're not going to be able to measure anything, because you're looking at everything from a very black and white perspective, and intuition is a very gray space. So I would recommend people surrender to it, trust, write down the intuition, just be open to receiving it. And then afterwards, use the data, use the analysis to take a look at everything you've collected and see the patterns in it. So they partner together very well. It's just lead with the feminine, lead with the surrender, lead with the intuition, and bring in the masculine / the analytical after. You can absolutely do both.
I love it. How can people work with you? What do you have any new programs, offers that you would like to share with the viewers and listeners?
Oh, sure.
And where they can find you.
Oh, I love it. So mediumnicole.com is the easiest way to kind of find everything for me. I have all my social media out there. My podcast, The Unity Code, that I know you're going to be on soon, so I'm excited about that. I do a lot of more of this soul transformation work. So I work with people to connect with their departed loved ones, understand the soul connections with them, and also your own soul and how you can transform into your own sovereignty, how you can raise these vibrations, how you help you learn the lessons you are working through and learning, so that you don't have to take the long path. We can take the short path through that, I promise. So all of these things are available on my website. And I do have some more programs coming up too that are related to spirit communication. If you're interested in learning how to communicate with spirit, how to work with energy, how to do timeline collapsing, all of that is within my group programs over there under the Alchemy School. So it's so much fun over there. I am supposed to be working with the people that are reinventing the way that this work happens. So a lot of my students do light language or ancestral mediumship or property mediumship. Like, it's wild. The people that I work with show up because they want to come and break the rules. So if that sounds like you, come on over. I'd love to work with you.
I love it. And finally, what's the final message or a couple of messages that you would like to leave the viewers and listeners with?
Very loud in my ear right now is to believe in yourself and trust in yourself. A lot of this metaphysical path, because it is unseen, because it is not measurable, it can make everyone feel very uncomfortable or question their version of reality with this work. But the reality is that we are, again, souls first and humans second. And so a lot of what happens when you open up your belief and open up your trust with spirit is everything that you think you want, like, becomes possible. So it is truly the art of the possible. So if you double down less on the modality, less on the certifications, less on the to-dos, and double down on your own internal belief and trust in yourself and spirit, everything will open with perfect divine timing. And it makes it a very fun experience instead of a very roller coaster experience, which I know that I have experienced as I opened up to this path. So the two words are belief and trust. I want to make sure we're walking away with today.
Thank you, Nicole. Well, thank you for coming to the podcast. Thank you for your, insightful, I keep hearing, information, and for opening your heart. I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me. Such a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for being here with us. And until next time, trust yourself, honor your own path, and remember that even the smallest moment of awareness can change the direction of an entire life. And have fun. Have fun. This is what I keep hearing as well. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you.